Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And I want to say, first of all, I want to say to all my American subscribers, happy 4th of July. I spent 17 years in the United States and it holds a very special place in my heart. I know that country very, very well. And I still have a dream that one day I will be able to open a bookstore in Santa Barbara when California is out of communism. But happy 4th of July, everyone. I wish you all to have a safe and beautiful day. And with that being said, I just want to apologize, or maybe explain rather, why I'm not doing live today with Ashala. And that is because I felt uncomfortable to do live. The reason being is that some people simply don't resonate with this kind of conversation, and they just want me to, which I of course don't mind, interview people who are strictly into politics or that kind of subjects, even though I am asking political questions of Ashala. But that made me think that, I think if you look at my channel and my guests from this perspective that each one of us, me or the guests, are trying the best to bring some value and some knowledge from their gifts, from their experience, perhaps then you will be less critical and at least more natural, like Switzerland, in approaching those conversations. If that doesn't resonate, that's okay. Maybe it's not this interview. There will be another interview. But I think what's gonna help us to go through those times is kindness and appreciating one another, accepting one another that is not causing any harm, because there is no harm in those conversations. So it's a long intro, but I think it's important to mention. And if you still would like to ask a question, Ashala question, you can do that via super thanks, or when I will be premiering this video via super chat. And that's how we're gonna go about it. Ashala, sorry for this long intro, but welcome back. Very happy to connect with you again.
Thank you so much. Yes, and to let people know that we will answer those on our next call. We will aim to answer those questions next time.
Because I never run out of my own questions.
And I just want to reiterate, that it's the questions and the witness of all the people who are watching and their encouraging energy, supported by all their guides, in alignment with love and, doing no harm, as you say, balanced and aligned with the greater good of all. And that's where I'm coming from.
Yes, and Ashala said something before our conversation started recording that, and I agree with this. I think our power is when we don't look at world just from one perspective. The world is not just material or spiritual, it's a blend of everything. That's right. And why not to approach it this way? Therefore, I like to have different type of conversations on my channel. So let's jump into questions. I have 4, so maybe we will not be, let's see how this goes. But what I would like to start with, Ashala, today is the housing market.
Okay.
I think actually I was listening to a lot of different experts, or, those experts lately are questionable too, but it looks like there are very different opinions. There are some that are saying the housing market will go down, or they are saying the prices actually will go up and up. What I think might be the case, and that's why I would like to ask you what you're going to see there. Interest rates are rising, which means less and less people can afford the credit, the mortgage, right? Or that kind of situation that there is less demand because less people can go for it. Housing market is not going to crash like crypto, like overnight or drastically. It takes some time, right? So let's look and see if the housing prices will go down or they will go up, and what is the kind of time frame for that to take place? Worldwide, actually, I have to mention, because it's going to be worldwide, like it was in 2008, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, what I'm seeing is that, we're actually speaking more about a housing crisis as well. It's not just markets and value, it's like lack of adequate or affordable housing for everyone. And so what I'm getting, first of all, the first layer is that we've been in this situation for several years now, where we're seeing a decline in what is, like you say, people being able to access affordable housing, being able to afford, because of the interest rates, because of these markets that have gone up, that so many people have been sort of excluded or moved out of that real estate possibility. So first of all, the good news is I'm seeing that we are transitioning into a phase where, like, exploring that as a larger concept, not just about, because a lot of the housing markets internationally are really a place where it's like the stock market. People are investing and they're trying to make a lot of money on housing. So it's like we've got something a little off there when it's becoming actually an investment over like a right to have access to affordable housing. So I think what's going on internationally, and I agree with you. I saw earlier, like, late last year and early this year, that we were going to see a drop in June or July. And we are seeing a gradual drop here in North America. We're seeing that. But I thought it was going to be quite extreme, or that's what was being predicted. And I agree that it's going to be a bit more gradual. But I also feel like what we're going to be looking at is shifting our focus away from this being an investment. So basically, I don't see it dropping completely down. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it like just totally crashing down, but I do see that it's going to lower enough that a lot more people are able to access housing, affordable housing. So we want this to happen. Ideally, we'd like it to happen like not as extreme, so it throws the whole economy totally into a downward spiral. So would you repeat your question?
Can I ask you here?
Yeah.
So that is not like a replay from 2008, 2009.
No, but it's enough. There's enough of a drop that it changes the whole dynamic. And when you ask about timing, I'm getting
yes,
I'm getting a lot of destabilization into late September. So I'm getting a lot of fluctuation and a general decline into late September, and then I get it stabilizes at that point.
So prices won't go up, they will rather go down. That is
Okay. Feel like they're going to go down, like, and I'm getting almost around a 20% average that they're going down. But then it does feel like they stabilize, which is better in a way than what I was seeing earlier in the year. So we're moving in a good direction. I want you were asking a question about the interest rates, and I want to look at that. Would you repeat that part of the question?
No, what I meant is that because the interest rates are rising, actually for those who already took mortgage, I'm talking especially in Poland, I can see what's going on.
Okay.
Less and less people are able to afford those mortgage payments. Therefore, I feel, because the rates are going to go up, okay? And ultimately, it will come to the point when people are not able to pay those rates and, the bank takes over the property. Therefore, I see, because of that would be a drastic price change. I mean, lower price, right?
Yes.
Because people are going to lose homes if they don't pay for that.
That's right. Well, it's interesting because I'm actually seeing like the rates also shifting. And the the zenith of that feels to me to be around the end of this year and maybe early into 2023. So yeah, overall, what I'm seeing is that it becomes a more level playing field and more people have access. And I think it's because we're going to be shifting the conversation just away from interest rates and, you know, the actual housing prices into looking at ways to make housing more accessible for everyone, because there's going to, like, you know, what's going to happen internationally with all these people who have been more or less middle class or lower middle class people that are suddenly don't have housing, and there's no rentals, there's no, you know, everyone's got their properties Airbnb, and it's like people are going to be making a very big fuss about this if they're losing their houses or they can't afford to get into the market. So we're going to see this as a crisis that needs to be addressed, like as a larger issue than just, you know, fixing the rates and looking
but even a rental, Ashala, it's insane, especially like I know in United States, I was coming across those, it's insane how rentals went up. And so it looks like you're saying, it's gonna go down around 20% or so, and then it's kind of stagnant, but then it might be another drop, would you say?
This is as far as I'm seeing right now, but I do see that something is going to be done with those interest rates by the new year. That is, I don't know, it's like almost like a creative solution that's going to address this crisis, because we're going to see this being presented more as like a societal issue that we need to look at, which is, of course, we know it has been for a long time, but that's been more or less for the lower class people who haven't been able to afford, you know, to enter into the purchasing a home, period. So it's like their opinions or their influence has been more or less, you know, denied or ignored.
That's also by design. It's also by design.
Fine, yeah.
Yes.
But I don't think that the lower middle class are going to give up their rights, their freedoms, and, you know, what they've had access to really easily without really making a big fuss. So, and good thing, you know.
Yes,
so I think
absolutely.
we're going to see some.
So now my next question is about the midterms in United States, and why I'm asking about this. In several videos of Tori, she mentioned that the midterms will not happen. They will not allow the midterms. I mean, that makes sense that they will create another shenanigans, because they are absolutely on the brink of completely losing it.
Absolutely.
Now, I am not pro Republicans either, because to me that's actually worst, because it's like, how you say, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's how you say. This is, I mean, all those rhinos, it's just a mess. What I think they are trying to do is they will create, that's why they're escalating this conflict in Ukraine, then dragging this into China, whatever, and they will do anything, in my opinion, to have an excuse for not having those midterms. So I would like you to check if those midterms will actually take place or they will not, and how this will unfold with that. It's November 8th, I believe.
Okay. I believe that it's going to look, they're going to leave it till the last minute. And there is almost like a diversion that will, I see them like suggesting an alternate date, rescheduling, but it feels like it happens very close to the last minute. It's not, there's no warning for this. It feels like there's something that sort of takes over and causes it. There's some other thing that's happening, and they're diverting the energy to that and saying that they have to postpone it. But there is also an alternate plan, because I'm getting that they're going to postpone it for at least 6 months. So that would be, but I think there's an alternate plan in place by then, where I don't know, there's a divide that's happening at that point. There's something else that's taking things in a new direction. So
what a mess.
A little bit of a mess. But whatever this other option, or this this alternate plan, feels like a better design, and it feels like it just feels like we're running a different program that's going to take over. And I'm getting into, again, like year end. So we're talking about November for the scheduled midterm elections. I'm getting like January, like the end of December or early January, that something else is put into place.
This is all Democrats, right, doing those shenanigans, those two plans.
Yeah.
Plus, Republicans too, together the same group. Yeah.
So there's two plans going on. There's one that's going to try to make it like 6 months later, and there's another one that looks like it's 2 months, within 2 months. So,
oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. It's, yeah, because she repeats this like many times. She said about those midterms, and I'm like, people are gonna lose it again, like emotionally, energetically. Okay, let's see. Next is about the electric cars, because I just can't, Ashala, with this. I just can't. The European Union is about to vote on banning the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2035, and Europe might become the first carbon neutral continent by 2050. I would like to know, this is seriously, I just would like to know if the whole world will really get into this place that we are forced to only move around with those cars. Simple like that.
No.
That was good. Thank you.
No. For one thing, it's another kind of elitism, right? Because it's just going to be, so many people won't have access to that as an option. So no, absolutely not.
Okay. Do you see anything like more there, or just no? No is good for me. No is good for me. I'm happy with no.
Well, what I see is, it's like the underground. I just see so many alternatives and creative ways of still keeping, fuel vehicles going. Like, I always think about third world countries and how innovative they become when they're challenged with losing different technologies that they've grown accustomed to. They just find a way to continue to make those technologies available without that sort of infrastructure. So yeah, they may stop producing,
petrol cars,
but they're going to be around for a long time.
Okay, so next car, if I buy the petrol car, well, it's because you don't know anymore what to buy. It's just insane.
And we've got all these petrol style vehicles running on alternatives,
hybrids.
Well, not just hybrids, but we've got veggie oil and biodiesel options, which, again, like if petrol is not as readily available, people will get creative about other options. So in a way, looking at older vehicles that can be converted to something like, veggie oil or biodiesel. Like diesel vehicles are probably a better option because there's going to be more sort of underground grassroots alternatives to running diesel vehicles than regular petrol vehicles. So, that would be my recommendation from what I'm seeing here. This Empress card is a lot to do with getting back to nature and things. So, it is, in a way, there's some real value to moving away from petrol. But what I don't like about it, electric is, with all the batteries, and it's just as environmentally challenging in the long run, especially if you're looking at, spreading that far and wide and having literally the same amount of cars. It's not going to be possible. And it means it's going to be more of an exclusive option for people, again, the haves and the have-nots. So, but something like biodiesel or veggie oil creates a third option, which is environmentally less impactful. It's more about recycling, but that's based on diesel vehicles. So there you go.
There we go. Okay, that's a great relief for me. So my last question, which might actually, because we have time, might be combination. So let's go into this. Two questions within one topic, let's say. Someone commented not long time ago that the same people control West and they control East, creating the situation as if there is an East and West and they are in conflict. And I would like to know if that is the case or it's not, and I'm leaning towards that we actually have a very different intentions separately coming from the East and completely different energy coming from the West. This is my sense. But I would like to look into this, and then if there ever be a time, hopefully in our lifetime, when the East and West will be in this beautiful friendship, exchange relationship, very healthy relationship.
Okay. Well, let's start with your end vision and move from there. The very healthy relationship feels like it has to do with a spiritual bond, which is above religion. It's above the division. It feels like when it comes down to it, we have, social, political ideological differences. But when it comes down to it, a huge dividing factor between East and West has been based on, religious indoctrination and the sort of geopolitical military industrial complex that's been laid over that. Like a lot of those dividing lines are based on religious, originally were based on religious differences. So it feels to me like the solution comes back to looking at a kind of, it's not about homogenizing our spirituality, but it's about almost like creating, instead of a this and that, like East and Western religion, to create a third option, which is more like a humanitarian option. And it is really about us addressing this very deep-rooted existential crisis on a spiritual level. So that's what is scheduled. How long it's going to take us to grow into that is uncertain. We're certainly going to have a lot of backlash around, the whole homogenizing. According to the globalists, they're trying to push this, one world government, one world. And it sounds good in a sense because it's like, well, it's bringing us all together and we have a common belief system, or we have a common ideology or social cultural norms. But that's really not, we of course know that's not the intention of that. It's to bring us all under one controlled umbrella so that we're easy to monitor and easy to, dictate to. So I think we're going to have some years of really pushing back against that collective healing. But ultimately, and I'm getting, when I say that, we have to go through the military and the political dominant, power dominant parts of this very complex issue first. That's what we're going to be up against first. Then eventually, so I'm getting like maybe 4 years of going through that. And around year 5 and 6, I see that we're getting down to more the spiritual, working with looking at religion and spirituality and sort of lifting ourselves out of that dogmatic controlling place. So, and it's a lot of that, good versus evil, like we're kind of existentially going through that crisis. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the earlier part of your question, which is, what is East and West controlled by the same overlords or entities or whatever? And the message I get is that they're like brother and sister siblings from the same parents. So I guess the short answer is yes, they have a similar origin, but they've evolved differently. Just like you can have 2 siblings that come from the same parents, but they're very different. That's kind of what they're suggesting here. So they both have to solve these challenges about power and domination. That's what we've really got on the front burner for the next 4 years or so, is looking at power domination. This is all the military industrial complex, the threats of war, all of this stuff, the very political stuff. And then we're going to start moving into more the spiritual, philosophical parts of humanity.
So Ashala, this is like Cain and Abel, kind of, right? Or different?
It's a little different because both have positive and negative in them. Both have, the light and dark. So it isn't about one is bad and the other is good, but both have strengths and weaknesses as well. And when you get, it's just like, really what I'm getting is there's a need for maturing on both sides. Because when you get the strengths of 2 different, relatively evolved beings working together, that's beautiful harmony. When you get the weaknesses of those 2 clashing against each other, that's what we've been experiencing.
Like so the shadows are running it.
Yeah. And that is related to the shadows of the original parents that are still playing out here. We have the shadows of what the parent origins were, the off-world origins, or the coalescing of different parents in our ancient history. And those shadows and those shadow wars we're still living that out. So it's going to be a while. It's not an easy, like, we can't fix this overnight. This is huge. This is our origin story, but it's scheduled to be addressed and evolved and transformed in these times. That's why, the Mayan calendar and all these other systems that suggest that this is a huge shift of an epoch into a new epoch. It's beautiful. It's also painful because we have to look at the stuff that we've been running from for such a long time.
That is so interesting what you just said in this last question here, because how can we approach the geopolitics with very multi-layered situation? Because if we just look at the facts and we don't really read the energy behind it, because there's much more to it than just someone making a stupid decision that affects millions and millions of people's lives, right? Like there is an energy behind it. Like this is truly, besides the fact that a lot of those people are not really humans, truly, let's be honest here. Because I think even if there are humans, Ashala, I wonder if you agree with me on this. If there are humans, like wounded humans are attracted to those type of people. Let's say there is a true human being, but is very wounded.
Yes, absolutely. And just like, when we talk about our off-world origins, or the different streams of off-world entities that came here and seeded humanity or worked with seeding humanity, those being our parents, parents, grandparents, and so on, they they were not like, people talk about these different off-world groups as all, well, those ones are all light and those ones are all dark. And I believe that there was a diverse spectrum in all of those groups, and you had some of them did come here and had nefarious agendas, and they were always, they talk about the Galactic Alliance, where there's certain rules that, you can't play outside of those rules because it's not ethical. Free will is one of those rules. And, like how much you take power or dominance over other beings and disrupt their free will. That's why we get with all of these dark agendas, they have to actually disclose to us. They can't just do this stuff to us without informing us. So, but if we don't have our eyes open, or we're too afraid to see what's clearly being presented in front of us, then we are resonating a lower frequency, and we're going to be sucked in to that agenda. If we are, evolving to be able to see the bigger perspective, the complexity of it, to feel more open to understanding that and not being just totally afraid and disempowered by it, well, then we can start to see that, it's not as simple as just black and white, good and bad, right and wrong. And then we have the opportunity to access support from the more highly evolved parents and beings in our background, right? And they're always there for us. They're always
so great. You said it. And the biggest lie is that we are not powerful. This is the biggest lie.
It is. It is. Yeah.
You know what I want to ask? Yes, please.
Well, and they're actually, the guides are showing me like a playground scenario, and how certain people get bullied, certain people, even who you would choose to hang out with on the playground, and then what you have to do to get into that group. You might have to like do things to other people that hurt them so that you get accepted by this group. And that's kind of what I'm showing. But it's almost like the guys are saying, but there's always, you can always go for help. Like there are, there's somehow the teachers are available, or there's support available, but we forget about that, and sometimes we need to learn by being bullied, or, making a bad choice, and then seeing that we hurt others by doing that. This is what we're dealing with.
So I love when you said all of this. You know why? Because it just reminded me about the angelic energy. And I had a very special, personally, I have very special connection with my guardian angel and with angels in general. Like, I think I have like a whole team of them. But there is this rule that they will not interfere in your life if you don't ask them for help.
Yes.
And yes. I think many of us, we forget sometimes to simply ask if we feel like we have no more idea how to go on. I think it's so important.
Well, and it's part of the play drama, the playground drama is, even there's shame about being bullied. Like, I know I got bullied when I was, young. I was kind of strange and, unusual in my own little world. And that was probably a bit threatening to other powers. And there's, it even was like sort of a belief system that I somehow deserved that, or that like I had asked for that or something, and that's the shame about, I probably, if I would have had a sense of my own power, like you say, I really was sort of enculturated and conditioned to believe in powerlessness. So if I had a sense of my own power, I probably would have looked at all the teachers and found the one that would actually do something, like the good one that would actually do something to support me. And I probably would have stopped. I would have found ways to clear that energy. But because I was running the shame disempowered program, it continued, and I got the reflection that there wasn't going to be that kind of help. So I think this is part of our growth and evolution. I certainly know that, I've made it my mission to really support people who are feeling disempowered, that they have access to support. And so I learned the lesson.
I am so grateful for you being on my channel and for me having these conversations with you, because I know there are people who appreciate it so much, and I do. And I want to thank you for being on this journey with me, Ashala. And if you would like to ask Ashala a question for the next show, because guys, I always have questions. I have no problem with coming up with questions, but if you want to ask a question, you can use the super thanks and you can use the super chat in the premiere. And if you want to book a reading with Ashala, the website is always down below the video. You have the link there, and subscribe to Ashala's channel too. Once a week, she puts very nice weekly reading, and she just did this morning. I listened. Yes, this morning. Well, my morning. So
somewhere I put it up late Sunday, and it usually out for most people by Monday morning. Yeah.
Yes, number 55 already. Good number.
5, yes.
Lots of love, everyone. Stay tuned. Stay on my channel as well, because I invite different people. So don't be, Until next time, lots of love and take care.